Let's start this video with a strange deadlock glitch. With deadlock, if you walk against the wall, aim at it and use your ultimate on it, there's a very quick frame where you can see through the wall. Did you see it? Here's a slow motion shot. With this mechanic, you're actually able to spot all the enemies through the walls, even though they don't appear on the minimap, and I think that's a pretty cool glitch. Though I completely understand that this is a big waste of your deadlock ultimate, but no worries, in this video I'll show tons more tricks that don't are a waste of your ability, because you're watching a new episode of the Valorant tips and tricks sent by you series. Like every episode, I'm giving away a battle pass to one of the submissions, so if you got any cool tricks, don't forget to submit your tricks in the MrLowlander Discord server. You can join with the link in the description, and you might be next week's winner. Also, I know it's been a while since last episode, and that's because I went on a small vacation in Greece, but MrLowlander is back, so let's hop straight into the video. Did you know that Vice can actually place her flash on the ground? Okay, maybe for all the Vice mains this is a very logical mechanic, but I personally didn't know it, and I hardly see any Vice using it on the ground, but this could actually be a very good mechanic. If there's either no wall nearby or you know an enemy is pushing towards you, then place your flash on the ground, walk a little bit in front of your flash and activate it. With a bit of luck you activate it at the point that the enemy is speaking, so that the enemy will get flashed and you won't get flashed. If you do it like this, the enemy will have no time to react and then you might get a kill like in this round. Another thing I didn't know you could do in Valorant is this wallbang tricky. On Icebox, try to plant the spike all the way in this corner on the left, and after that, make your way to the enemy spawn. This could be very dangerous, so I wouldn't go to spawn if there are like 4 enemies alive, but if you have info about where the enemies are or it's a 1v1 situation, this might be a very cool tricky. Because if you stand next to the stairs, jump on the left side of this lamp, then you can wallbang through the wall just a little right of the line. Honestly, I don't think any enemy will expect this, because nobody is using this wallbang trick, and that's why it might work in one of your games. And by the way, you can also use a Vandal for this trick, though you need a little more shots if you use a Vandal. Next tricky, for this one we need to go back a few episodes, because in that episode I said this about Astra. If you plant the spike in the corner of the site and place your wall very close to you, the enemies won't be able to defuse the spike or kill you. On paper this trick looked so good, but then my viewers found one counterplay, and that's that you could knife through the wall. Which meant that this trick became useless, right? Well, my friends, Moist Raccoon found the counterplay to the counterplay, and that's by simply just knifing back. Take a look at this.
What the fuck is this, Moist?
See, so
No
it's the
way.
strat! It's the strat! It's the strat!
What the fuck?
No fucking way.
Yup, it's the strat, my friend. Well played. Also, you won this video's battle pass, so congrats, Moist. Okay, since we're talking about counterplays, I want you to take a look at this clip, because in this clip, Miko is using a very underrated trick.
Not this range.
This is a cypher on site.
Whoa, Miko, first of all, what a beautiful shot. Even when we put this clip in slow motion, you hardly even see the enemy. But now the question, what's the underrated trick? Well, my friends, it's pre-firing an angle. Honestly, if you ever played Lotus, you know that almost 50% of the time an enemy will be standing over here. But still, even though we know that most of the times a guy is over there, a lot of players don't pre-fire, but they go for the silent approach. But honestly, instead of shift walking every round, a pre-fire could do wonders. Okay, let's do another counterplay. You know on Ascent, when you want to push B with your teammates, you sometimes see this smoke over here. Many Omen players like to place a one-way and then peek from this corner. The thing about this play though is that it's very predictable, so what you can do is simply hop on the boxes. If you jump with crouch, you don't make any sound when you do this, then guess roughly where the entrance of the site is and just spray through the smoke. Who knows, with a bit of luck you might get an easy kill.
Reloading.
Ooh la la, I see a bonus tricky over here. Did you look at this clip and thought by yourself, why did Omen suddenly place his smoke down but then didn't place his smoke down? Well, there's this thing you can do with Omen, and that's that if you are in a smoke and you want to shoot through the smoke but you're not sure where to shoot, you can simply activate your smoke, then aim at the spot where you want to wallbang to, after that cancel your smoke again, and voila, you're aiming exactly at the right spot. It's basically an alternative of pinging on the minimap, now that you can't see your ping through the map anymore. Let's move on. We talked about a lot of things that you should be doing, but now let's talk about something that you shouldn't be doing. Here's a tip to everyone. If you play against the sofa in the post plant and you kill that sofa, you always need to be careful for a random shock dart that could be flying out of the sky, because a lot of sofa players like to do this trick over here. So, here's the tip. If you play against the sofa and you got every enemy, don't stand with multiple enemies on the spike, because if you stand with your teammates next to each other, this might happen.
One enemy remaining.
I don't know why, but I find it hilarious that he types "what" in the chat, but you clearly hear that he doesn't say anything through the mic. Best reaction ever. Good job on the triple kill, my friend. And about the what play, for this next round I honestly have no explanation, but it's still a very cool dash, I guess.
One enemy enemy remaining.
I guess this is what happens if you play with the maximum sensitivity. This also reminds me, trick shots. Let's take a small break from the tricks to showcase some trick shots. First up, we have a classic 360 no-scope.
Kill my allies.
One enemy remaining.
Then another 360. We got a very lucky attack helicopter kill.
Thorns down.
Oh,
This next one, I didn't even know this was possible.
Last player standing.
And then this brimstone molotov was all planned.
उसमें मरवा दिया है. Wow. Crazy one.
Back to the tricks, Cypher. If you play against a Cypher and he uses his ultimate, you'll get spotted of course, and 2 seconds later you'll be spotted again. And we can use this mechanic against him. Because if you get spotted on a high spot, a nice thing you can do is jump down while the second pulse of the Cypher ultimate is hitting you. If you do this and the pulse hits mid-air, the enemy Cypher thinks you're still on a high spot, but in fact you're down, and then you can get an easy kill. Well played, Say. And while we're talking about Cypher, here's a quick and easy cam you can do, but I don't see a lot of people using. On Abyss, if you jump on these boxes, you can place your cam on the wall, all the way in A main. There's one thing about this cam though, and that's that it's easy to spot for the enemies, so I wouldn't recommend to use this wall to get early info. However, I think this is a pretty good cam for the post plant. If you need to retake site with your teammates, getting info about how many enemies are on the left side of A main and right side of A main is very strong. And let's stay on Abyss, because did you know that when you jump over the ledge with Yoru and place your clone will actually spawn all the way in mid. I have no idea how this works, but this got me wondering, what happens if you use this trick with the gate crash? And the answer to that is that you will place your gate crash down, but you can't teleport to it. It's a very strange glitch and completely useless. However, maybe if you use this one with the Yoru clone and you activate it, enemies that are middle and see the clone might get very confused. And about glitches, this one might be even more useless than the last one, but it's a cool mechanic I guess, because did you know that in the practice range, you can start the obstacle course with the Teho missiles. All you gotta do is use your missiles behind the map, and after that, if you die, you spawn at the start of the obstacle course. I know, completely useless. No worries though, this next trick about Teho is a little more useful. You know in Fracture, when you plant the spike on A lot of defender-sided players like to chill over here, and we gonna use that. In the post plant, stand over here on ramps, then aim up, and then try to place your crosshair a little to the right of the X. If you see it once, it's very easy to remember. Now, if you shoot your stun with a bounce, it will land exactly on the spot, so shoot your stun, follow it up with some missiles, and there's no counterplay for the enemy. Easy peasy kills. Okay, let's move on. Take a look at this clip.
Oh yeah! Monster on the loose!
Train hard.
Nice player in no 10. If you ever hear an enemy Gecko using his ultimate, instead of shooting it, you can simply place a wall to defend your teammates. I think placing a wall has a little higher success rate, because we all had that moment when you try to shoot on the Gecko ultimate, but you whiff all your shots. And about sage walls, here's an old one. I think I showed this sage wall like 3 years ago, but I personally forgot it existed until I saw this clip. Well played again, player in no 10. Let's now move on with the Sage wall I definitely didn't show before. And here's how it goes. If you plant the spike on C Haven, a lot of Sage players will either place the wall to block carriage or even to block the defender spawn. And though these are good walls, you can also place your wall like this instead. At first you might think, why? Why is this wall so good? Well, first of all, if the enemies don't destroy this wall, they need to walk through here to enter the site. And this means that you basically make the two entrances of the site a little closer to each other. What in turn, of course, means it's easier to hold. And the second reason why this wall might be good is that if you jump on the platform, you can look over the wall and go for some head glitch kills. Who knows, the enemies might not expect it, and well played, it's GDX.
Garage, begin. Right here.
Next trick, let's talk about Clove now. An essential Clove mechanic is that if you use the Clove ultimate, you're able to reuse your ulti again, so that you can shoot on the enemies earlier. And this next tip is about that reuse. Imagine, an enemy kills you, you revive yourself and you try to run away from him. What a lot of people will do is try to run around the corner and then come out of the Clove ultimate. And even though this is not a bad tactic, a slightly more risky way of doing it, but more chance for you to get a kill, is to reactivate your ultimate while you're running out of a smoke. This gives you just enough time so that if the enemy is running behind you, you can make a 180 and get a kill while the enemy is following you. And this is exactly what happened in this clip.
Never left.
And this, my friends, this was the last trick of the video. Big shout out to everyone who submitted in a clip. I hope you learned something new this episode, and I see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.